Hello, Savannah. Hello, Savannah. And welcome to Kandily Kesha. I am your Alderwoman at Large for the City of Savannah, Post 1, here to have a little bit of a chat tonight about a handful of things that are very, very important. One special initiative that I'm working on, and I'm joined by a couple of ladies who's going to help me tell you all about it. And then after that, we're going to talk about what's going on in the city. So tonight, we are going to talk about Safe Service Savannah. We're also going to talk about the City of Savannah salaries and SPLOST. So stay with us and listen up and hear what is going on in your local government. As you all know, it is my intent to educate you so that you are empowered to engage, to hold your city municipal government accountable. And so without further ado, I want to introduce to you tonight two women who I recently met since being elected here at the City of Savannah, who have a heart after my very own with regard to their mission work. Some years ago, I started with a program to promote responsible alcohol consumption, particularly focusing on bar and liquor serving establishments, in that at the end of a year, after seeing a number of victims come in to the hospital and a number of victims who were reaching out seeking the services from the Rape Crisis Center who were raped. After hearing the stories, reading the police reports, I saw a common theme. And the common theme in that report is that many of them were taken advantage of where alcohol consumption was concerned by either one or both parties. In addition, we also saw where individuals just were missing the mark and not very clear on the law as it relates to rape in the Georgia state statute that acknowledges that sex with a person who is inebriated or incapacitated is incapable of giving consent for sex, right? That may sound harsh, that may sound unreasonable, but guess what? It's the law. And so digging a little bit deeper and drilling down into the numbers, we actually saw in 1 year that over 50% of the cases that we worked at the Rape Crisis Center involved victims where there was alcohol involved in the scenario in some manner. As the 3, 4, 5 years crept on, we also saw that that number of cases involving alcohol was also rising. And it was unfortunate and very unpopular for me to acknowledge that a number of tourists who visited Savannah also became victims of rape. Because we know that one of the things that draw people to Savannah is this liberality that we have with open containers and being able to walk the streets of Savannah, at least in the downtown corridors, with alcohol. And so not to be too terribly granola, not to be approved, but just to be real, people drink, they enjoy their libations. I partake and I do too. But we want to acknowledge that there has to be responsibility when it comes to people getting hurt. And so somehow, Lindsay, you may want to tie this into your talk a little bit. I don't even know how we connected. I think you approached me. I have no idea. I can't remember. So much has gone on. But as we were talking, I thought, wow, she's talking about underage drinking. I was trying to push this program when I wasn't on council about responsible alcohol consumption so that we forego episodes of rape and sexual violence. And then she said, oh, and by the way, I have another friend, Teresa, who works with Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, state affiliate here in Savannah. And I'm like, wow, how awesome would it be that we can team together? You know, oftentimes we get pegged for being turf oriented and not wanting to share and not wanting to collaborate. But first off, I thought, how great would it be to come together as opposed to pushing this one dimensional program? We could now come together and marry the missions and singular the focus on just responsible drinking so that we are foregoing episodes of underage drinking, individuals being irresponsible when it comes to drunk driving, as well as sexual violence prevention. So here we are. Here we are, beautiful marriage, a beautiful marriage. And we want to also recognize that you all work for nonprofit organizations, MAD, as well as Beyond the Veil. And then there's also the Rape Crisis Center. These are all nonprofit organizations that could use your help. So if you are listening today and you are charting your course for your charitable contributions, remember these organizations and please reach out to them with a donation for their respective missions. We appreciate you all so much. And so now we've come together and we put together this awesome program that we launched a couple of months ago, and we're getting some traction, and we have some more things to come. And so, Lindsay, I'm going to throw it to you. And if you're not speaking, I'm going to ask you to mute your mic. I hear some background static. But Lindsay, I'm going to throw it to you, and I want you to tell us what are we doing here, and how excited are you about it?
Well, Miss Carter, you know I am very excited about it. Busting at the seams for it. So, and we're so excited to be working with you. So, I'm the project coordinator for Beyond the Bell. We're a local nonprofit here, and we work to prevent underage alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco use. And we've been working with Miss Carter, planning for over a year this program called the Savannah Safe Bar and Alcohol Service Program, where we want to promote proactive practices to just what she was saying, to prevent all of these type of harms that alcohol can cause. And that's what I love about the work of prevention, that is not just about what not to do, is what we can accomplish when we all work proactively. So really excited to push this, really excited to work with service industry. Before I was in the nonprofit, I used to be a bartender and server down here as well. So I know how important it is. I know how difficult it can be to manage all of that, but also how important it is. And so I feel like I'm excited to kind of go and help out that sector as well, a little bit from my past. So,
yeah. And one of the things we talked about where servers are concerned, I know when we rolled this program out some years ago at Rape Crisis Center, many of the bartenders we connected with acknowledged that they were so in the routine of their service, and they were so caught up in just managing the crowd that they became relaxed, and they did not realize how much of a role their work played into sort of fostering some of these crimes. And so, Teresa, that's how we recognize the importance of your mission with MAD. One, the ultimate offense that occurred is death as a result of drunk driving, not to mention the accident, but also for businesses, Teresa, we talked about the litigious nature and how businesses become liable when this responsibility takes place where alcohol service is concerned.
That's correct. We a lot of people and owners, and even more so like the bartenders or the servers themselves, don't realize exactly what a dram shop law is in the state of Georgia. And what it is if you continue to serve a person and they are intoxicated and then they get into a vehicle and drive and hurt or kill someone after drinking in your establishment, you are held liable personally. It's not the business, it's not the business name or the chain. It can actually be all the way from the very top to the very bottom, to the last person that gave them a drop of alcohol. And that's what we're trying to do when we do these trainings and educations, is we want them to continue making money. Bring the tourism to Savannah. Make sure your all of your people that are coming in, all of your customers are happy and everybody's having a good time. We need to make sure everybody is doing it safely. And the servers and the bartenders, they need to understand, how much alcohol they can give to a person, how much should be in the glass, and different steps that they can take to help make sure that their patrons go home safe at night.
And Teresa, you actually have a personal story, and I would imagine that that's why you're so passionate about this work.
Yeah, that's how I got started. If you would have asked me 15 years ago where I saw myself in the future, it definitely wouldn't have been here. But my sister and a good friend of ours was killed in a drunk driving crash. The offender went to like 2 or 3 bars that day and was at the last bar for about 2 hours. And he ran a stop sign in front of my sister and my friend, and they were killed instantly. He was from the location. It was something he did quite often. The staff at that last bar knew him very well, and they knew that he was intoxicated when he left, and they didn't do anything. And at a certain point, when you're under the influence, you don't have that personal, that little Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder anymore. So other people have to help watch out for you and watch out for everybody else. But yeah, that's what happened. Is the bartender knew that he was intoxicated and knew the person that was with him was too. And she could have very easily called his family who lived right up the road, but they went ahead and let him drive home instead.
Wow. And let's honor the memory of your sister by just saying her name and her friend's name.
Her name was Brandy, and our friend was Bobby.
Thank you for sharing that with us today. And I'm hoping that there's someone under the sound of our voice tonight, because that's what this is all about. You know, using this platform to speak openly and candidly, so that people will hear how serious this issue is, but also how important this work is. And it's a blessing for those of us here today to be talking about this out loud in hopes of preventing it. But I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge what pain this loss continue to have on your family with every passing holiday, birthday, an event that reminds you of your sister and her friend. So blessings to you, and Teresa committed to seeing this work through. Thank you for being a part of this. Lindsay, back to you with regard to your work, because we know that underage drinking, underage use of marijuana, use of marijuana and tobacco, those are also issues that sort of lead to things like drunk driving. We know in most of these episodes, the youth are the greater offenders. We also know that they are most harmed when it comes to changing their life's path, if you will, because they are engaging in these behaviors because they're reaching and they're grabbing for something, a sense of belonging. It's not always just about having fun. And so that brings us to this, this huge issue related to the increased use of marijuana in our community. And I know we passed a law or an ordinance that sort of relaxed how people could be held responsible with regard to how much. And I don't want to get into the whole the law of it in the criminal justice system, but let's just talk about what marijuana does to our youth.
Yes, and yeah, it's such a big topic. And I'll say it's a topic. I work with youth, and it's one that they want to talk about. It is the Georgia Student Health Survey does show that marijuana use is up higher even than alcohol use or tobacco use in our community for the youth. And so what it really, and of course there are a lot of misconceptions because weed is legalizing across the country, but it's not legalized for those underage. It's still going to have that age limit because youth are still developing, their minds are still maturing till the average age around 21. And drugs by definition are anything that messes with your brain. So anything that you're putting into your brain can change that chemical, the chemical structure. And it means that youth who use are at a higher likelihood to develop an addiction later in life because, rather than learning how to build their own dopamine, from fun activities like hanging out with your friends or playing music or playing sports, getting that natural high and rush, then the kids who are using weed, they rely on that for their dopamine. And then eventually their body's like, okay, well, I don't need to produce it anymore. And that's how the addiction starts. And youth are at a much higher risk for that when they start using at such a young age. So that's a really big issue. There's a lot that can a lot of discussion around that, but because it's legalizing, we have to have these same discussions. Like we talk about underage drinking and alcohol. We've been doing this for decades. We have to have those same conversations about underage marijuana use as well.
And so that we talked about alcohol, we talked about marijuana. Let's talk about, and I guess the marijuana and the tobacco sort of kind of goes hand in hand. But Lindsay, I want to jump to this whole. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, I was going to say yes, the tobacco and the marijuana and the vaping. So the vaping is such a huge thing with the teenagers, and they can vape the THC oil, which is high concentration, 99, like high concentration of THC, higher than what, you know, people were smoking in the 60s. So that's another thing. It's not just, you know, regular old 60 decades weed. It's not just natural weed. It's genetically modified, and you know, they have engineers who are creating new strands to get you even higher. So that's another misconception. You know, it's not as natural as some people would like to say it is.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you about this vaping. It seems to be a new phenomenon here in our community and throughout the United States. Actually, it's everywhere. You actually have vape shops. And by the way, for as much as I've been told, and as much vaping as we see around Savannah and in various places, I've been told that it's actually illegal in Savannah. So what that's all about. So people, be careful, and find out what the law is as it relates to that. But Lindsay, if there is a higher concentration, and I understand that it's actually more dangerous than smoking, how is it that something like this passes FDA? And are we going to wait for another 20, 30, 40 years and then discover all these people have this new form of cancer and everybody's suing these companies like we did the cigarette companies, the tobacco companies some years ago? So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think that's the struggle. And Teresa, if you know more, you can jump in here, but it really is like kind of experimenting. Juul didn't pass FDA. I'm pretty sure that the vaping at first was not FDA approved, and they were allowed on the market anyways.
Yeah, that was the thing, because I work with a lot of drug recognition experts. They're like our very trained and educated officers that do traffic throughout the area. And just like Lindsay said, the initial like Juuls and the little pods that go in them, or the pods that go into the vape pens, nobody has any idea what's in them. And so, you know, last year and the year before, we were starting to see a lot of 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that were dying from lung problems because they were vaping and they found out there was metal in there. They don't know what kind of additives are put in with it to give it a specific smell or to give it a specific taste. And a lot of times kids will think, oh, well, it's not cigarettes, it's not tobacco, so I'll be okay. But again, the manufacturers continually to change the chemical makeup of whatever's in that vape to go with the THC, that we have no idea what those side effects are going to be. And it's causing serious damage in teen lungs. I mean, and that's something that you can't fix. So they could be 30 years old and have to walk around with oxygen because they were vaping in high school.
So tell me this, is there any data or statistics related to, you know how when we talk a lot about cigarette smoke in the secondhand and how that could be equally as dangerous? What about vaping? Anything with secondhand exposure to vaping at all? Have we heard anything?
I personally have not seen anything. I know that there are studies being done. I know there's one being done at Johns Hopkins right now. They're working on that as well. Because it's so new and it spread so fast, there was not a lot of study or research done on it. But they started seeing people doing that more. Because the vapes actually showed up when all the laws and ordinances made smokers go outside. And people still wanted to be inside. And they're like, oh, well, it's not cigarette smoke, it's vapor.
Oh.
And so that's when we started noticing more and more people using it. And they had all these wonderful exotic flavors that just taste so great. But again, you're still getting those chemicals in your body. Now, how much of that transfers to like secondhand? I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Like I said, I know the medical journals that I read through, they are in the midst of studies, but they haven't released any statistics yet.
Yeah. You would think there would be equal requirements and testing like with the vaccine before you
Right.
go like that out. But we're just mouthpieces. What more can we do? What else do you have, Lindsay?
I was just going to say, they market it as a safe alternative or safer for people wanting to quit cigarettes. But that safer does not mean safe, So it's like the way they market it, and it's all advertisement. That's something that we'll try to teach kids is like, advertisement literacy. How are these messages? Even with vaping, you look on media, movies and shows, and it's kids partying all the time. Like that's the one plot twist they love to put. It's like the teenage drunken party, right? Like, and trying to teach some critical literacy as well.
And so when we start talking like this, I always get the feeling that some people will be like, oh, that's just not realistic. Oh, they're not really saying anything that these young people want to hear. Lindsay, what are some things and some strategies that you use through your mission at the Young Avail to reach young people?
Yes, and it is. It can be a hard topic to take on sometimes, and we let parents know that. One thing I do let parents know, it's not the one and done talk. It's not the big talk. We're going to talk about drugs today, just like we're going to have that one big sex talk, No, we need to have these small conversations. Something that Beyond the Bell does that I really enjoy about prevention work is trying to teach us not so much. I think we can all remember back in the 90s, the Just Say No campaign. This is your brain on drugs. Yes, there are a place for data-driven facts about this is the long-term effect on your body. That's pretty scary, but that alone won't change their mind. And so it's really important, and I stress to partners and to parents that we have to also put in those positive protective factors. So like teaching positive coping skills. So if kids are using drugs because they feel stressed, what are some other ways that we can deal with our stress and our problems more proactively? What are some communication skills? How can we talk? How can we deal with our stress? Other pro-social activities. COVID was such a hard time for kids because they could not get out and about, and that is such a huge way. If someone is so involved with extracurricular activities, they're not going to have as much time to spend in getting into all types of stuff like drugs and alcohol. So as much as we want to tell the truth with data-driven facts, we also have to put in some lovey-doveyness in there, as I like to put it. But it really is just, that support. We have to support our kids, talk to them, be open about these conversations, especially if, like Ms. Carter said, if you do enjoy libation yourself, being able to talk about, I as an adult am doing this, and what the difference is between an adult drinking responsibly and an underage person drinking. So that's what I would say, is just to make sure you put a little bit of both in there.
Because at the end of the day, we want to be real, but it has to be done in a way in which it's realistic. So it's a delicate balance, and the onus is not only on the parents. At the end of the day, it's self-responsibility. We can talk all day long about what our parents did or didn't do, and I tell my kids, I'm even either saving for therapy or college, whichever you want. So, there is no perfect parent, and I would imagine that most of them do the best that they can. But at the end of the day, you have to have an ounce of something within yourself to make you have the will to do the right thing. Teresa, along those same lines, when it comes to drinking and driving, we talk a lot about blood alcohol levels, and we do know that there is a science behind all of this with regard to female, male, your weight, factors and variables. Talk to us from your world in terms of how people can be more cognizant as they go about. And of course, we know the average things that you do is to just, call a cab or ride with a friend or have a responsible person with you. But what are some of those things that people should look for, signs when you kind of feel like, okay, I probably shouldn't drive?
Well, a lot of people don't understand how the BAC works, the blood alcohol content. So in our world, we have a 0.08, which comes out to 8% of your blood is alcohol. So to reach that point, on average, it's two drinks per male and 1 drink per female per hour. So, and that's on an empty stomach. And I'm not saying if you have a great big Thanksgiving meal that you can have 10 beers. No, it's still not quite like that. But a lot of people also don't realize what an actual alcoholic beverage is. So when we say an alcoholic beverage, we mean like a 16-ounce beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a shot, or distilled liquor. So that's one of those beverages every hour. And the more that you drink in that hour, the less that your body or your metabolism cannot get rid of that alcohol this fast. So it takes time for all of that to go through your system and make sure that it's not, interfering with your cognitive thinking and your decision-making skills. A lot of people also think that you're only drunk if you're falling over, or if you're getting sick, or you can't keep your eyes open. You can't sign your name, like, to where you can read it. That could be after 2 beverages. Or if you notice your emotional changes, like if you get really giddy and talking and you want to know everybody in the bar, you probably have too much, because that's not your normal attitude that you have during the day. Or if you start getting angry because the person next to you is wearing green and you just take the color green. But it's not always the falling down drunks that we see in movies or on television shows. 9 times out of 10, the person that gets pulled over for DUI, or the person that gets into a crash, they're usually right at that level. They're like in a 0.10 or a 0.12. I mean, something right in that range. Yes, there are arrests where I think the highest one I've ever seen was a 0.456. That's like half of their blood is alcohol. But it's very rare to have someone in those high limits, like anything from 0.15 or higher, that you're going to see in court all the time, or that are causing injuries or fatalities on the roadways. It's always those ones that think, okay, I'm sober enough to drive. No, you need to be sober to drive, not sober enough to drive. And a lot of people don't understand that at all.
Got it. And so that's the whole notion. I think there's a campaign that says buzz driving is drunk driving.
Yep.
And so it's just knowing your body. And I think the danger is that even if you are okay, if you get into a car accident or happen to get a traffic citation, and there's probable cause for a breathalyzer, it's like you're right there on that line, right?
Yep. And also in Georgia, we have a DUI less safe. So it would be, if your BAC is 0.05 to 0.08. And so legally, you could not hit a top BAC, but the officer that pulled you over knew that there was something wrong because you weren't driving properly. So even though you may not be at the 0.08 level, he can still place you under arrest, or she can still place you under arrest for a DUI less safe. And it's the same penalties, it's the same charges, it's just that differentiation between the 0.08 that we all have ingrained in our head. But you're still under the legal limit with alcohol level, but you still can't perform normal functions like driving.
And so the least of the occurrences that happen if a person is charged with a DUI is you have a litany of fines, lots of court cases. I understand it's a lot of money, as well as DUI school, where you can learn all of the stuff that you probably never were interested in. But we're happy to use this platform to just serve as a opening appeal to individuals. After meeting you and hearing your story, it's way more serious to me. And you hear about it in the news, but to be this up close and personal to a person, it really makes you want to really send the message across the city if we can change it at all. And for all those families who have suffered this kind of a loss. We really want to dedicate this part of the cause to the life of your family members. And so to that point, Lindsay, can you talk about what we are getting ready to launch and what we already have sort of circulating in the city? You may see these posters, and for the businesses who have signed on, thank you so very much. And for businesses who want these posters, they are free, and we will come out and post them in an inconspicuous place, maybe in the bathroom, where people can see them in the privacy of their space and be comfortable writing down numbers. Lindsay had an idea to put links or QR codes for some of the organizations where people might need help or need counseling. And so we're looking to do that as well. But tell people how they can sign on to the program. And we're getting ready to launch some cool promotionals as well. So we're excited about that. You want to talk about that some, Lindsay?
Yes. So the Savannah Safe Bar and Alcohol Service campaign, right before St. Patrick's Day, a group of us with Beyond the Bell, Matt, and our partners at the Savannah Prevention Coalition, we walked around, canvassed the downtown area with the posters. You saw one of those earlier with the BAC chart, another one that says alcohol and consent do not mix. So these are posters that we are wanting for establishments to display that are just gentle reminders for both patrons and the employees about, the BAC levels, what the standard drink size is, and the reminder, again, alcohol and consent don't mix. I actually went and got to go through today from Namaste on Broughton Street, and they had both of their posters prominently displayed behind the bar. Shout out, and I've been to a couple, and they're still out and about. We thank you guys for doing that. It's a small effort, but we want to continue to create new materials based on the need, based on the data from the ABC unit, based on needs assessment from the actual business community themselves, telling us what they're experiencing. So we want to come up with materials as well as some highlighter training. Nothing intensive, nothing is going to be there for hours. But here's a 10-minute, 20-minute highlight. This is what you need to know to intervene. Where, if you really need to cut somebody off, this is how you do it. You need to intervene for someone who is uncomfortable in receiving sexual harassment. This is how you shut them off. Quick highlighter trainings in the future, just so we can create a network. There are already businesses who are doing really wonderful things, and we want to learn from them and basically create this network of public-private relationships that we want to stand, promote alcohol service, sell a lot of alcohol, but do it in a way where we're all there the next day to remember what a great time we had. So we're excited to move it forward.
Yes, we are. And I want to send a shout out to Mr. Jim Deal. Most people may be familiar with the bar card, which was a requirement on behalf of the city of Savannah for individuals to go through these courses. And it was a good thing. It still is a good thing, but we don't want to scare our bar and liquor serving establishments. And we're also including in here convenience stores. We actually want to look at this more as a partnership. This is a partnership where we are seeking the support of our local business owners, our residents, and even our students here locally to get involved and engage in helping us just to promote a healthy environment in Savannah. Savannah is a very, very wet city. And for as liberal as we are with the distribution of alcohol, we have to engage and promote some responsibility where safety is concerned, because the statistics and the data shows every year, Lindsay, you crunch the numbers and you see the number of episodes that are rising from underage drinking every year. As I told you, year by year, we saw our statistics and our data creep up where rape and sexual violence and alcohol was concerned. And I'm sure you can attest to the same thing, Teresa. So again, and as much as we want to protect and serve our community, we also want to be good partners with our business owners and we want to help forego any litigious nature that may befall your business, if you will. So with that said, I think that covers a lot, but we'll be back. We'll be back because we have a lot more to roll out. We have a lot more to share with the public because we're going to need their help. And we will come back and tell you in just a few short weeks how you can help us continue to spread this information and this knowledge across the city, because at the end of the day, prevention is everything. Prevention is everything, as well as it's key. So listen, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. And I look forward to chatting in the morning. And I don't know how many boxes I'm going to check in the morning because it was a busy week last week. I'll ask for forgiveness later. But we're gonna continue to hold each other accountable where our tasks are concerned, and we're gonna get this work done. And I want to say a special thanks to the intrepid staff of the city of Savannah who have been working behind the scenes on this, particularly Mr. Nick Zoller, and I've been driving Mr. Joe Shearhouse crazy as well. So thanks to you gentlemen and everybody else who's had a hand in this. And we want to get some of the ABC team in on this work as well, because they are the ones who've been holding down the fort for a number of years. And Jim has a very good working relationship with them, and we want to continue to foster that. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Savannah. So for those of you who are listening to us tonight, if you are a business, if you frequent a bar, if your favorite bar doesn't have these posters, call me, inbox me. Teresa and Lindsay, I believe you all are on Facebook as well. Inbox those ladies, and we will get those posters to those establishments. If you are interested in joining our volunteer efforts, we need people, we need boots on the ground, we need individuals to help us spread the message around the city. So inbox me, put in the chat what your thoughts are about the program and how you want to be involved. Or just put in there your favorite neighborhood bar, and we'll be sure to drop some posters off. Thank you so very much, ladies, and I will see you in the morning.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Yes. And so you guys hang with me for a minute. We're going to take just a brief little break here, and we're going to come back with some information for you, some updates on the City of Savannah municipal government. Thank you. Hold on. Okay, hello Savannah. Hello Savannah. I am back. Just a few things I have to basically talk about. A lot has happened over the last couple of days. There's been a lot going on. Chief and foremost for me is crime in our police department. We are just, quite frankly, living in a time in Savannah where it's just not safe. It's just not safe. Now, some would attempt to minimize what we have by way of what's going on in our community by way of gun violence, because it's considered situational or violent intentional injury, in that the individuals know each other or they engage in a certain lifestyle. But I'm sure many of you, like me, know that bullets do not have a name on them. And when we have occurrences going on in our city where it's pretty much akin to the Wild Wild West, where people are just simply solving disputes and problems with firearms, it's just not good. Right now, we are quickly about to eclipse the number of homicides this time and gun violence this time last year, as well as in the previous administration. And this is on the watch of a council who most commonly mimic the majority in this community. This is on the watch of a council who supposedly is aggressive and progressive. But in fact, we have not been progressive when it comes to tackling crime. During the, on the cuff of the Black Lives Matter movement, there was a call for us to what you call defund the police. Now, I never ever favored that. I don't like that word. I don't like the idea or the notion of defunding the police. I just don't want to do it. I don't support it. But what I do support is the theme behind that, knowing that it was an opportunity for us to revisit our police budget and look at where we are spending dollars related to our community. And so I would be inclined, as opposed to spending money on military style equipment and all of these other big ticket items, I would be more inclined to tweak the budget and adjust it so that we are investing more in community policing, so that we are establishing a relationship and a rapport with people who live within the corridors of our most vulnerable communities, but also our most crime-riddled communities. And in doing that, a couple of things happen. One, our police officers are able to engage and establish a relationship and a rapport with residents, with our youth in the community. This is a great idea because one, it increases the level of trust. It provides for education and information, but it also provides for law enforcement intel. And so it just makes sense. It just makes sense. And we have not done what makes sense where our police department is concerned. Now, this is notwithstanding the fact that we also have a lot of issues related to morale in our police department, much like that within all departments in the city of Savannah. It is attributed to the fact that there is a lack of continuity in leadership. Okay, we are about to hire our fifth, sixth city manager, and well, we might be because yeah, that's another thing. The pickings are slim. This new firm that we have, we had no say in the new firm. The city manager just basically handpicked a firm, just like he was handpicked. The city manager was handpicked. The interim city manager was handpicked. He, in turn, handpicked the firm, who probably is going to handpick the city manager too. So we went from a very, very reputable and credible outfit, search firm, whose search yielded 110 candidates from across the nation. Very good candidates. And the consultant who was assigned to us was able to help us drill that down to about 10 people, then 5 people, then the top 3 people, right? Our current search firm, we have 35 people to start with. In fact, they said they had not much more than 35 people to apply for the city manager job for the city of Savannah. Imagine that. Now, some would say that as a result of the optics, that may be why people did not apply. No, that's not going to fly. It's not going to work. There's no way in the world that any public administrator, any individual would not look at Savannah as an attractive city to manage. The salary is nearly $250,000 to $275,000 a year. We have an amazing backdrop, and we have a myriad of issues, challenges, as well as attributes that a city manager, a budding city manager, could come and sink his teeth into and really make a name for himself or herself. So, do I think something's awry? Yes. Do I trust the process? No. Because much like the other process where the mayor's maneuvering essentially caused us to derail the search, I figure now we will go through this process again, and there will be some backdoor maneuvering, and we won't get who we need in a city manager. You heard it here first. And they can attempt to throw me under the bus again, but I won't have anything to do with it because, as I stated, and I've said to my colleagues, those who I'm allies with and those who are on the sidelines, at the end of the day, when it came down to it, I was the only council person, because I'm going to tell you, let me just tell you the truth. I'll just tell you the simple truth. And the simple truth is it came down to race. It came down to race. Ultimately, the top two candidates, a Black man from South Fulton and a white man from Arizona. Any one of those men, either of them, could have essentially done the job. It doesn't take rocket science to manage Savannah. It takes a heart. It takes a person who could hold their own. It takes a person with a high level of ethics and integrity and creativity to appreciate a community who has more than what a lot of communities have. Savannah has so much. Some communities only have one for the things. Here in Savannah, we have a big tourism industry. We are next to a beach community, which makes us susceptible to natural disasters. We boast of having one of the largest ports in the nation. We have a growing population, very diverse population, artsy. So we have so much. Most communities only have one or two of those things, but we have all of that. And that's what makes us extra special. And so, yes, it does take a city manager with talent. But these two guys, they both had what it took. And guess what else? They were real men. They were manly men. And I don't know that there is an attraction for real men within our administration. Either of them could have held their own. I was the only council person who was willing, or who had actually, in fact, threw her support behind both of them. Because you see, I simply wanted relief for our city staff. Since my time on council, I have been bombarded with letters of complaint by staffers who are disgruntled, staffers who are retired, staffers who were forced out, and staffers who are on the job crying out openly, and some anonymously. And I could not hide behind the notion that council members are not supposed to engage in personnel work when you have these people crying out to us. If when I go through the natural channels to try to get the city manager or the human resources department to do something about it, what are we supposed to do? Continue to ignore these people? No, we can't. So what I do is just try to use this platform to be transparent and to let those of you who are listening know that I'm working hard behind the scenes on your behalf. I am committed to trying to get a good city manager. We missed out on John Pompier and we missed out on Odie Donald. Either of those guys would have done a stellar job for this city. But it was no desire to get someone in who could turn this big ship around. You see, the city manager is not just about being responsive to the council. The city manager is not just about being responsive to the business community and managing the budget. The real job of the city manager is to be responsive to the staff of the city of Savannah, so that the staff of the city of Savannah is adequately responding to the citizens of Savannah. That's how that works. And if they are not happy, that's why you don't get good customer service. That's why when you make requests and calls of the city of Savannah, that's why they are not responded to. Because you don't have a staff who's being supported. You don't have a staff who's being led. And so we're working toward it. And then it doesn't help to know that there is so much disparity where our staff is concerned when it comes to pay. So I did an open records request, and I'm going to devote more time for my next show. I requested, I have to do open records requests now. I've been diminished to doing open records requests because as you're sitting alderwoman for the Post 1 of the city of Savannah, when I make requests, I don't get stuff, right? I don't get what I'm asking for. So I just have to go through the channels of the law. And by law, when you file an open records request, you have to receive the information a specified number of days. So you can call me Alderwoman Open Records Request because that's what I will be doing from now on. So I requested the top 100 salaries, the 100 highest paid employees of the city of Savannah from 2019 to 2021. In this report is the title, the department or the division, the full name of the staff person and their salary. These salaries range from $240,000 to $251,000 as that's the top salary, the top guy, that's the city manager. Hernandez on his way out was making $251,000, and Michael Brown and Pat Monahan are at $240,000 or were at $240,000, and I think Michael gets the extra $500 a month for a car allowance. Then you have the assistant city manager, the chief of police, the fire chief, and these, these people, they work hard, they pay their dues, they have their education, their time in, so I'm not balking at that. But when you factor in that the top 100 people, the highest being $250,000, and then the lowest in that being, as of to date, the lowest being $81,000. When you ask for something, people making this kind of money, you should get what you need. Notwithstanding the fact that these people that are on this list, they are the top dogs. They're the number ones in the department. So that means they have between 5 to 15 people working for them. So there should be no reason why you're making this kind of money in our municipal government here in the city of Savannah with your team and you can't produce. In addition, these are the people who should be the most motivated in the city to treat people right. There's no reason for them not to treat people right. But then when you have the lowest 100 paid, and one of the other common themes with these people, at least the top 10% of them, each of them received between a $2,000 and $3,000 raise consecutively every year for the last 3 years. While the lowest tier people and some of the individuals within that city staff hasn't received a raise at all. And then you have a handful, one person in 2019 jumped from $113,000 from 2019 to 2021. And this is, mind you, this is with interim city managers, with no permanent city manager. You go from $113,000 to $152,000 in 2 years on interim city manager watches. And then the mayor's assistant can call HR because he didn't have anything to do with it. You know, he don't never have nothing to do with nothing. His assistant can call HR and say, I want a salary review. And you go from what was supposed to be a temporary job, 6 months, $60,000 annually, to now $75,000, $80,000. So, City of Savannah staffers, if you want a salary review and consideration for an adjustment, go to Jeff Grant in Human Resources and ask for it, and tell him all the woman Gibson Carter said that you should. Where do you do this? How do we behave like this and accept it? So when you see another police officer who has the same level of education, no, actually less education, less time on the staff, in the department, on the force, and less responsibility, and you're making more money than someone who has more tenure, more time on the force, more education, and more responsibility, and you're making $10,000 to $20,000 more than that individual. And see, the beauty of where we are is we know this community and we know these people, and we knew it before we came to local government. And that's the delicate tap dance that they have to do around us. And then we have SPLOS 7. Right now, since I've been in office, we have not been given office supplies. I'm right here at my dining room table. It's turned City Hall. IRS, listen up, a portion of my dining room space is going to be written off for office because it's filled with agenda books and all. I have 15 computers, laptops, some of this. It's just crazy in here. All because there is a deliberate intent to keep us forced out of City Hall. So our space is complete. $1 million was allocated during the previous administration to renovate the 3rd floor where the alderman offices are. Well, to my delight, it's done, it's finished. I was happy to be able to move into my office, only to go there and see that the mayor has now moved into our offices. We go from the most egregious of offenses in this administration to the most minute. And y'all, this is simple. This is so simple and petty, but it has to be said out loud so that you start to get the theme. Like I highlight that minutia to basically expose the bigger picture. When you have a mayor who rolls out a 10-point plan to combat gun violence on the eve of Mother's Day, and you blame mothers, and you say mothers are responsible, mothers are the ones who should take ownership, mothers are the ones who should take responsibility for keeping their kids safe, don't have guns, making sure you know if their friends have guns, making sure we know what's in their bedrooms. How insensitive. That is an insult to women. That is an insult to the many single mothers who have been raising children on their own by themselves. What about a gift on Mother's Day and say, parents, provide support and help in this regard? What about the fathers? No, I got a better one for you. I got a better one for you. You know how you really, as a leader in a community, how you really tackle gun violence, how you really tackle affordable housing, how you really seek to adjust the city coffers by increasing revenue, you do it through policies. Stop playing with the people. Stop playing with the people and incorporate policies that's going to change the trajectory of crime and poverty in this community. Stop with the rhetoric. Stop with the gaslighting. And people, I'm going to need you to wake up. Pastors, I'm going to need you to wake up. Civic organizations, I'm going to need you to wake up. NAACP, I'm going to need you to wake up. I am so happy for this Nehemiah group. I don't know who you all are. I just heard about you. But they are making demands. I'm so happy for advocates for this plastics resolution. I'm so happy to have individuals who are advocating for safety on our streets with the Whitaker Street and Drayton Street corridors. They are rising up, they are mobilizing, and they're making demands. And that's what we need you to do. Enough with the politicians who pontificate and make up stuff in their sleep and wake up and think you're supposed to listen to it like it's magic. No. We are in dire straits in this community. And you know what? We are on the cuff of $57 million coming to Savannah. And if we see where we have a leader who thinks it's okay to use $7 to renovate, historic renovation is what it was for in the regs, historic preservation and renovations, not cosmetic. You renovate your office in the midst of a pandemic with SPLOST dollars for historic preservation. Changing the carpet and paint is not historic preservation. Sorry. We have another complaint on our hands. And we're supposed to trust that that individual is going to do right by this $57 million that's coming through to Savannah through the American Rescue Plan. $57 million over the course of the next month. Before the end of this month, actually, the first wave will be hitting Savannah. In the second, in the next year. We need your voice to be heard. I made a request today of the city manager to have our district representatives, our district alderpersons, be able to reach out to their constituents in their district so we have a good cross-section. We hear the voices of the people. We want to hear from you. How do you want that $57 million spent? There's a lot of liberality within this act in terms of where and how we can spend this money. From supporting small local businesses, daycares, local churches, nonprofit organizations, civic social organizations, churches. Don't be silent. Don't sit down on me. I have sacrificed since the day I have been here, and I need you to stay with me, and I need you to fight with me, and I need your voice to be heard. But I am only one vote. But with your support and your mobilization, we can hold them accountable. With your support and your mobilization, we can keep this government honest. And we can make sure that we're salvaging something out of this. We do not want an instant replay of the CARES Act where the SBA expended $1.2 million simply in the downtown corridors and only 2 African-American businesses received support. We don't want that again. We need our Hispanic community represented here as well. So next show, or maybe before the end of this week, I'll come back and talk to you again because I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest. Can't hold this stuff in. Listen, call me, reach out to me. I want to get some posters in these bar and liquor serving establishments, into these convenience stores. I have more information to share. Police officers, y'all hold on. Hold on. I didn't even get to talk about the death in the GBI report from Mr. William Harvey. It's still very disturbing to me. And the hanging me, my God, what is going on here, y'all? We need leadership. We need leadership. We need leadership. Stay with me, Savannah. I love you. Good night.